Welcome to Stories on Wheels. I'm very excited to be here, a part of the Fraser Valley Regional Library's virtual summer reading club. Let's get started with the show. Here we are. The show is called Stories on Wheels, and it's based on a form of street theater called Kamishibai that used to be really popular back in the 1920s through to the 1950s in Japan. There used to be thousands of storytellers, and they would ride their bike from town to town or from street corner to street corner, and they would set up their bike just like I've done here today, and then they would gather a crowd using this wooden instrument. It's called the hyoshigi, and it would just be used to let the neighborhood know that the stories were about to begin, like this. Kamishibai! And then all the kids would gather around, and then, well, he wouldn't start telling stories right away. What he would do is he would sell candy off the back of the bike. Some of the kids have some of the traditional snacks you could buy, and he would have made those right here in these drawers. All right, we're going to get started with the stories. To begin with, a countdown. You can count down along with us at home. When you see the number, you can shout it out from 5 down to 0, starting with 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All right, well, thank you very much. We're going to get started with the first story in our Middle Eastern Tales series. Here we go. Hi, welcome to Stories on Wheels. We are very excited to share our Middle Eastern Tales series. The stories were created with a local visual artist who comes from Syria. Her name is Bushra Gesen. As well, there's music created by a local Syrian musician named Bero Sakur, who plays a Middle Eastern instrument called the oud. The story takes place in Syria, a country in Western Asia. Here's Canada, and all the way over here is Syria. It's surrounded by many different countries. Here's Lebanon and Mediterranean Sea. There's Turkey and Iraq. Syria has many different landscapes. There are fertile plains, high mountains, and deserts. Syria has many different ethnic groups and religious groups. Since the dawn of civilization, it's been a meeting place and a crossroads where different people and cultures and world empires met. It's one of the oldest civilizations in the world. Syria has a rich storytelling tradition. Stories are told by professional storytellers called hakawati, but there's another kind of storytelling that's really important in Syria. It's grandmothers. I'll let our visual artist, Bushra Gesen, tell you about it.
Hello, I am Bushra Gesen. I am an artist and I painted the picture cards for the stories. I remember when I was a child in Syria, every day in summertime, we would gather with cousins and children from the neighborhood, and an old woman would sit on her carpet under some trees, and I remember she would drink her tea and tell stories to us. I hope you enjoyed the stories as much as I did. Thank you so much.
Bushra was a big part of the creation of this series that we call the Middle Eastern Tales. Here, Bushra shows us some images from Syria. The story that we're going to tell is from an area in the northeast of Syria, near the city of Deir ez-Zor, and here's their famous suspension bridge. There are 14 different provinces in Syria, and each one has their own traditions, folk tales, architecture, and traditional dress, and music. To tell you more about that, here is Bero.
Hello everyone, my name is Bero. I'm a musician from Syria. I play this instrument. It's like a guitar, but it evolved when the Spanish and Arab culture met in Spain. So it's the traditional instrument of the Middle East. It's called the oud. It has 6 double strings. It's fretless, as you can see, and you play it with a risha. Today I bring to you my music, my composition with Pangaea Arts. We worked on soundtracks for the stories together, and I hope you like them. Have fun and stay safe.
Thanks, Barrow. The story you're about to hear is called The Woodcutter and the Lion. It was a time of drought. The Euphrates River runs through the area near the city of Deir ez-Zor and forms fertile islands called Hueja, normally fertile. These Hueja normally had a lot of trees and plants. At this time there was no rain, no water, nothing would grow. Day after day, the sun shone triumphantly in the sky, canceling any hope for rain. With no rain, the trees, crops, and plants of the land withered and died. People were desperate and grew poorer and poorer. In a small mud brick house at the foot of a hill, there lived a woodcutter, his wife, and their 9 children. Every day, the woodcutter went out looking for trees to cut. "Oh, please have good luck." The children watched him as he left, not speaking out of turn. "Please, Father, bring home something sweet to eat." And day after day, at sunset, his hungry children would hopefully wait for his return. Unfortunately, he had nothing to offer them. In the middle of this drought, nothing was growing. There was no wood to cut. When things got really bad, the woodcutter spoke to his wife. "This can't go on," he said. "Well, maybe you can find another way to earn a living," said his wife. "But this has been my job all my life. I'm not cut out for anything else." "What are we going to do?" "What if I go to another Hueja, further off?" "Well, they're all the same. None of the Huejas have any wood for you to cut." "But I mean the lion's Hueja." "No, it's too dangerous. The great lion who lives there is cruel and he forbids anyone to go near it. You will surely die." "But it's crowded with trees and plants. No one else goes there because they're afraid of the lion. Perhaps I will get lucky. I have no other solution but to try and go to the lion's island." "It's so dangerous. Please don't go." "I will die whether I stay here or if I go to the lion's Hueja. Let me try my luck." The next morning, the woodcutter rowed his old boat towards the lion's island. When he reached the Hueja, he was so taken by all of the beautiful trees that covered the land, he forgot all about the lion. Suddenly, a great lion appeared in front of him, snarling and growling. How dare you come onto my wager? Don't you know what happens to whomever comes onto my island? Oh, please, Your Majesty the Lion, I'm so poor that my 9 children haven't had anything to eat for days. The woodcutter fell down onto his knees and started to cry. I beg for your mercy to pity me and let me cut just a little wood to sell at the market and buy my starving children something to eat. I'm sure you have such a big heart. The lion felt sorry for the woodcutter. Okay, said the lion. You may come here once a week and cut down all the trees you want. Oh, thank you, oh, thank you, said the woodcutter as the tears poured down his cheeks. Then he got up to his feet and picked up his axe. He cut the wood, carried it to his old boat, and rowed it into town to sell it. He brought his precious wood to the market. Everyone there was so surprised. It had been many months since they'd seen any wood at all, and here was a large bundle of beautiful, high-quality wood. Everyone asked how he'd got it, but he said not a word. Because it was so precious, his wood brought a very good price, and he used the money to buy meats to grill and fresh fruit and candies. That night, the woodcutter, his wife, and their 9 children feasted like they never had in their lives. From that day on, the woodcutter went once a week and chopped as much wood as he could carry in his old boat and went into town to sell it. Little by little, the woodcutter became richer, and his children turned plump and their faces became rosy and round. The family was happy. The woodcutter became a wealthy man whose riches were countless. His home was no longer a small mud brick house, but a palace, much like a prince might live in. He no longer went to chop wood, but sent his men to carry the wood in large boats. One day, the woodcutter set up a big party, and he invited all of his friends, except for the lion. From a distance, the lion heard the sound of music and laughter. He smelled meat being roasted. My friend the woodcutter is having a great celebration today. I must honor him and allow him to be my host. The lion walked in through the back door. He could hear beautiful music. He could smell the delicious meats. When the other guests saw the lion, they froze in their place in fear of him. The lion stepped up and sat next to his friend, the woodcutter, and said, 100,000 hellos to my dear friend. I have come to honor you by my presence. May Allah grant you wealth and health. As the lion uttered these words, he opened up his wide mouth into a great gaping maw of a yawn. A horrible smell filled the air out of his mouth. This was as close as the woodcutter had ever been to the lion. Oh, you really stink, said the woodcutter. If I were you, I wouldn't sit too close to my friends in fear that I might lose them. The lion couldn't believe his ears. How could my friend utter these harsh words after all that I've done for him? The woodcutter said, Please leave before all of my friends start to hate me. Without a word, the lion left, and went off towards his home. The next day, when the woodcutter's men arrived at the lion's Hoeja, "Leave my island and never come back here again!" When the woodcutter heard what the lion did to his men, he was very surprised. He went to talk to the lion. "What has come into your mind to throw my men out of your Hoeja? I have made a big mistake to consider you my friend. I treated you with kindness, and you returned my kindness with your ungratefulness." The woodcutter tried to explain himself. But raise your axe and kill me! I don't deserve to live after I have lost my dignity! The ungrateful woodcutter raised his axe and thought to himself, perhaps this is the best thing I could do. To strike him on his head and be rid of him once and for all, he viciously approached the lion and brought the axe down. The lion moved at the last moment, and the axe struck him on his stomach. The lion roared in pain and ran away behind the bushes. No one saw the lion after that day. Everyone believed he was dead. Time went by. The woodcutter considered himself to be the owner of the Hoeja. He cut down as many trees as he wanted at any time. He forgot about his old friend. One day, as the woodcutter was walking around the Hoeja, he heard the lion leapt up in front of him and pounced on top of him. "This is my Hoeja! How dare you come here and chop my trees without my permission? But this is the last talk we have together. I don't want to see you here again, or I'll eat you!" What do you mean? Are we friends? No! Wounds of the body will sometimes heal, but hurtful words cause scars that never fade. And the woodcutter never went back. And the two old friends never saw each other again. The end. Thank you very much. And a big thank you to Beryl Sakur for his music, and to Bushra Gessen for the picture cards. Also a big thank you to the Fraser Valley Regional Library for having Stories on Wheels be a part of the virtual Summer Reading Club. Thanks very much, and stay tuned for part 2 of Middle Eastern Tales.